That's Todd Bradford. Todd joins us now. Good morning, Todd. Hey, it's good to have you on. I mean, it's good to be talking football. And, I know I just got asked by one of our TPT or questions online what I thought about Kirk Herbstreit's comment last week. And I recognize Kirk. He's kind of become the voice and the face of college football. And when you work for ESPN, you have the opportunity to do that. But I was asked what I thought and where his sources were and why he was saying he'd be surprised if there was a college football season next year. Honestly, I don't know because Kirk and I don't talk every other day. Uh, but I mean, I'm sure he has his reasons. I tend to look on the positive side of things, but I've had enough people that have spoke with me, including the commissioner of the Big 12 last week, that I'm cautiously optimistic. We need to see where this thing's going, and I know from talking to you on a couple of occasions, your wife's in the medical field, and you've stayed pretty in tune to this. So where what's your what's your frame of mind right now in this?
Well, our frame of mind with the whole program, and we're following Coach Gundy's lead, is that we're gonna hunker down and battle through this, and count on the professionals who know what they're doing to get us through this. But we have every indication that we're going to come out the other end of this and have enough time to get ready to play, and we're going full speed in all preparations that we have in both recruiting and in preparations for the season. And so, we're going to be in camp in August and ready to start the season when we're supposed to.
I know from talking to last week, we were talking. Coach Gundy is kind enough to let us talk to the full time coaching staff members. This week it's support staff. We had John Stem on the previous hour and talked a little bit about this. But I do know one thing that's absolutely going full steam ahead is the recruiting part of this. You've got the coaches, they've got plenty of time on their hands. They are doing some other things, game planning, and now they can do the virtual meetings with their players. But how are you guys hitting the recruiting trail virtually, as at least by the rules?
Yeah, we have a morning staff meeting with the guys every morning and kind of go through what ideas that we've been able to glean through the internet and through watching all what's happening with recruiting and talking to people and doing everything we can. I'm not going to tell you everything we're doing because we're doing a couple things that no one else is doing, so we don't want anyone else to start doing them. But we have been very well connected with the current 2021 recruits. We are able to spend, as you said, a lot of time with them. They obviously have some anxiety and some angst over this. This is normally a time that they're preparing for April and May official visits and getting ready to make their decisions. I'm not sure when those visits will start, and I'm not sure that these kids will make decisions at the same time of the year as they have in the past, just because most of them have not had an opportunity to get out on all the campuses that are recruiting them and have the ability to, compare and make those decisions. But we are currently doing something every single day with our 2021 recruits to keep them connected to Oklahoma State and plan. We have a few more activities planned coming in the future that we think are going to be kind of unique and kind of fun for them. And so, yeah, this is a group of guys that we'll probably know better than any group that we've recruited in the past. That's for sure, because we're able to spend so much time with them.
One of the things, and I again, Todd Bradford, who's director of recruiting for Oklahoma State football. We can't talk names, can't do any of those things that would be against NCAA rules. But we call recruits as well and do stories and find out what's going on. I can't name names, but the majority of the kids, in fact, really in my mind, all but one that I've talked to over the last week, have exhibited extreme patience. I can see where you're talking the anxiety a little bit and the angst, but every one of them has said, I had trips planned, I had visits planned, and I'm going to have to delay them. But Mr. Allen, I'm not going to rush this. I'm not going to do anything until I get to see those campuses and see, see those, and one of them, one of them was looking at some other campuses because he'd already been to Oklahoma State, and he told me I really loved Oklahoma State, so I know where they are with me, but I gotta see these other schools, and so um, I like the attitude. That's kind of my question to you. The kids that are showing patience, those kids are showing me that they're going to think this thing through. They're not going to make a flash decision, which a lot of times isn't the right one.
Right, and I think too, they're obviously receiving good counsel from their coaches and their parents and the people that are helping them in their decision making. We've stayed in pretty constant contact with all the coaches in our recruiting footprint as well, and I think that once this thing clears out and guys are able to get on campus, I would expect there to be a run of a couple of weeks of visits, and then maybe a large number of guys pulling the trigger. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see this play out a little more like the old days of recruiting, where you're having kids into football games during the season and maybe some weekends, early in the wintertime before a group of these guys get
Well,
walked into where they're going. Last year about 83% of the kids were committed Power 5 schools by July 1st. Obviously, I don't think that number will be near that high this year unless we get a break here in the coming weeks.
yeah, and I mean, I don't want to. I don't know if this is what you're thinking, but I've always, or not always, but just in the last week or so, when I thought in my mind, if I were involved in this from an actual recruiting standpoint, what would I be inclined to do? And I know this. Uh, if you can get historically, if you can get a prospect to show up in Stillwater and see the campus and meet the people, you got a great chance to land them, because I really think those are things that turn the tide in recruiting for the Cowboys, are the campus itself and the people on it. I would do a virtual if I could. I'd get out there, get all the, the university has all these drones, and so they've got drone video, and I would mix up a virtual tour of the campus with interviews with some of the key players. Um, am I is that a good idea?
Well, I think it's a great idea, and you're seeing that a bit across the country, and I agree with you. It really is the people that are at Oklahoma State that turn the tide for us in our favor. So that's why we're so keen on getting the guys on campus so that they can meet these people and have an opportunity to see how these people are going to affect their lives. You have Marilyn Middlebrook, who helped recruit Coach Gundy, still meeting with recruits and helping them in academics. You just have people across the campus, and most of them are pretty long timers, people that have come to Stillwater, and once they got there, they have never left. And so it's really important to get the kids and their families and the people that are helping them make the decision on campus. I think you'll see more and more of the virtual stuff for kids to get a look around. We've certainly done some of that already, and we'll continue to do that. And a lot of the guys that we're involved with, we've had them on campus at least once already, so they've kind of seen the sites. They just haven't got enough face time with the right people for them to be ready to make a decision yet.
Yeah, another thing too is that I think plays into it. We had Chris Deal on yesterday, and we did a story. In fact, we had a cut in the story, a soundbite from you in it as well, or in a quote in the print version. But the graphics division in football with Peyton Awful and Olivia Ramirez, and the job they do, and we're seeing a good example of this right now with this helmet havoc bracket thing that's pretty cool. But what the fans don't see is they are able to do custom graphics that go to the recruits, and I know that's a huge part of it as well, and a great way to keep them engaged during a time period like this.
Yeah, I would say, more than half of their work is done in private. I feel bad that they don't get to kind of reap the rewards of how cool all the stuff is that they do. But, besides the stuff that's going out in social media through Cowboy football and through Coach Gundy, there's probably, if for every one of those that goes out, there's one or two that goes out specifically to a recruit or to a coach or to his family that are more customized that we're not able to put out on our social media platforms. We try to set them up so that our recruits can retweet them and use them on their social platforms. But some of them are private about them because they're personal, and some of them, you may or may not see. So yeah, that group of people is probably of everyone in the program right now had their workload increased because we're not able to bring kids in or go see them. So we've really ramped up the social media to get stuff in front of those guys as much as we can. As if they have something at 11 a.m., by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, we're needing something else to get out to them so that they're still thinking about us as the day goes through. And so really a shout out to all the people you mentioned, Peyton and Olivia and Chris, but there's Orange Power Studios, there's video, there's stuff going on over in Gallagher Ives. I mean, there's an army of people that are doing everything they can to keep Oklahoma State on the forefront of these kids' minds.
Another aspect of this too, and I think people don't know all the guys that work as the recruiting analysts that are looking at tape, that are kind of laying the groundwork on some of this, and then it gets, then the full time assistant coaches get involved, and I look at it, and you've got veterans like Charlie Dickey and Joe Bob Clements and John Wozniak, who I think does a good job, and Casey Dunn. I mean, I could just go down uh, the entire staff. Uh, but one of the things that the fans get mad about, Coach Gundy's even kind of jokingly referred to it at times. Well, hey, we're going to recruit more 4 and 5 star guys. One of our guys did a story yesterday, Marshall Levinson, and I look at Pro Football Focus, Todd. I look at a lot of these things. He looked at Kobe Harville Peel, and I remember when he was recruited out of uh, College Station, A&M Consolidated. He was recruited as a safety, but they were going to move him to the star, the hybrid linebacker position Glenn Spencer used in the defense. Well, before he gets there, Glenn's gone. New defense comes in. He actually does end up playing one of the 3 safety positions that Jim Knowles uses. And here's what Marshall dug up. He was the 77th ranked safety in that class when he came in recruiting. Pro Football Focus now ranks him as the #1 safety in production in college football. So, again, the rankings, the stars, that's all good stuff. And yeah, it's great to have a ranked recruiting class, and it's great to have a lot of guys with a lot of stars. But at the end of the day, you really want the Colby Harville Peels that once the proof is in the pudding, they're out there on the field and they're producing like a #1 player.
Yeah, when you talk about Kobe, what a great kid he is and a great player. Probably, he led the country in pass breakups and was really a turnover machine for us. Probably should have won the Thorpe Award. I think is the best DB in college football, and we'll have a chance to do that this coming year. But when you go back to recruiting and stars and rankings and all those things, we try as a staff, as Coach Gundy's assembled his staff. Our staff, like most staffs, recruiting is a big part of the decision you make when you hire guys, and where they recruit and where they've had success and their film evaluation and all those kinds of things. And Coach Gundy has done a unbelievable job of assembling a staff of guys that are very, very good at that. When we go through the evaluation, one of the things that we don't do is look at how many stars the kids have. We're trying not to be influenced by outside people who rank kids, but are not. Their rankings don't have anything to do with their livelihood like coaches and recruiting guys do, and so we recruit kids and we rank kids ourselves or evaluate kids ourselves by what we see on film, what we know about the kid from a characteristic standpoint. Does he love football? Does he have a football IQ where he's smart? Smart players make smart decisions on the field, and those are the guys you're looking for. And is he productive? Is his high school film productive? Those are the things that we're looking at when we evaluate the film. Now, there are certain criteria that kids need to meet. If you're an offensive lineman, you have to be a certain size, height, and weight. You have to have a certain length of arms, or else it's just almost impossible for you to play. But other than those kind of certain things, we're looking for guys that meet what we're looking for our players to be able to accomplish at each position. The coordinators have laid that out. The position coaches have laid it out. Of course, Coach Gundy's laid it out. And the number one thing for us in recruiting is that we get the right guys that fit the Cowboy culture, that fit what we're doing on offense and defense. And, if we get the guys that we think are the right guys, we're not really concerned about where they were in some sort of mythical ranking by whoever that is that does those rankings. I'm not even sure where all those stars come from, to be honest with you. But and then once we get them on campus, we have great coaches. We have Coach Glass and his staff, and they're going to develop guys, and we're going to continue to win a lot of football games every year, and continue to play in bowl games and do the things that Coach Gundy's been able to do for a long period of time.
Well, I know this that, and we'll finish it up with this. That when you look at the some of the recruiting and some of the new influences, one of the things I'm really enjoying is all of a sudden there's kind of a Utah influence. Nick Sessions already out there was out there before the COVID-19 pandemic broke everything off. He was an early enrollee. Mason Cobb is a linebacker that signed out of Utah, and I know there's some other guys that are being recruited out of that state. I'm gonna guess that might have a little to do with the director of recruiting. You got a pretty good background in that state.
Yeah, it's where I grew up, and that's where I played my high school and college ball. So we have some good connections out here. Benny has
Benny.
Benny Tonga, who's works in our recruiting office and is the player development, has a lot of ties in Utah. And then our coaches who've been out here recruiting, Coach Duffy and Coach Hammer, and those guys, they've created really strong relationships with guys here, and we're like everyone else. You recruit where you have relationships. You recruit where you have people that you trust, what they tell you about a kid, and you trust, all the people that are around. When you recruit a guy, it's not just the coach. You're talking to the guidance counselor. You're talking to people that work in the cafeteria. You're talking to people who work on the grounds crew. You're trying to get every angle on a kid to make sure that he fits in your culture. And we have some good ties in Utah, and we'll continue to try to harvest those as well as we have ties in other places. We have ties obviously in many areas of Texas and Oklahoma. We've got, ties on a few kids on the East Coast, and, you'll just continue to move around to the places where you have people that you trust and where you have people that are going to give you the correct information.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, I appreciate the time. Stay safe, the family, the grandkids, and we'll look forward to when we can all get back together and celebrate football again.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate your time. And, yeah, it'll be sooner than we all think. Positive energy. Let's get going, and look forward to getting back and playing some Cowboy football. Go, folks.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Todd Bradford, Director of Recruiting for Oklahoma State football.